ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਭਾਈ ਹਰੀ ਨਾਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਨ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖੀਜ਼ਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੁਣਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਅਸਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਗੋਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਏ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਰਾਹ ਅਪਣਾਇਆ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਭਾਈ ਹਰੀ ਨਾਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ, a warm welcome to you. Sat Sri Akal and happy Guru Purab.
Waਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Waਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Yes, happy Guru Purab ji.
Bhai Sahib ji, when we talk about the teachings of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, especially the concept of Ek Onkar,
Hanji.
it's revolutionizing.
Yes,
I would like to know more about that concept from you and how it is so much relevant. It's always been relevant,
Hanji.
and how it's even more relevant in today's world.
Hanji. You know, Guru Nanak Dev Ji brought to this world a message of pure truth. And the concept of Ek Onkar, he said that there's one God who created all creation. And that one God is the same God of everyone, no matter what their color, their gender, their faith, their belief, their religion, that everybody was created equal. And he brought to this world at the time of the Kali Yuga, in a sense, to save the Kali Yuga, this darker age, to share that message of oneness, so that we would see each other and respect each other. He had a great honor for human dignity, beyond what we can even understand and know. And he spread that jyot to the world, the light to the world, to share that message of oneness. But he said there's two parts of that oneness. First part is yourself. He said go within yourself to understand that you are one with God. Jat mein jyot, jyot mein jat, that the light of God lives in you, but your light lives in God also. He said there's no separation. And then he said the second part is spread that jyot, spread that light to the world, that world needs this faith. And when we look at today what's happening in this world, what is currently going on in this Kali Yuga, this darker age, where there's so much we don't even know what the future is going to behold with these wars and these other things, political situations, that we have to find where do we find the balance in life and the truth in life through this. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji brought that message to the world to help save the world, to bring us a sense of enlightenment, a consciousness, and to see the light that lives in the heart of every soul.
When we talk about courage in today's day and age, courage becomes something that is very much about fighting with somebody, going to war. But the kind of courage that Guru Nanak Dev Ji showed and he exemplified, it was in an era when there were rules and laws did not exist, when there were autocracies, when there was rules of these rulers, and he was bold enough to challenge them, to call them out. And that kind of courage, the exemplification and the practice of that courage is sometimes the thing that we find missing these days. What is it? What is it that gives somebody that courage? Is it the power to reason? Is it the power to is it that oneness with God that I think everything stems out of?
Well, we say that it's not the life that we live that matters, it's the courage that we bring to this life. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught that the courage of this life was to stand up for righteousness, was to stand up for truth, to accept everyone, that the courage is a way of life, a way of living, which then came through to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, who created Khalsa, to have a courage to stand for humanity, for the rights of humanity, but have the courage that also that if we need to sacrifice ourselves for that courage, that we should live it. And that is the strength as a Sikh. That's a strength that we need to hold within ourselves. But we have forgotten that. So we come out against each other, we fight each other, we fight in this world. Guru Nanak says your true courage is your capacity to stand for the rights, for the courage of the people, of all people, and to protect everyone. And to hold that protection. When that becomes the way of life, then that courage. And if we look at the history of Sikhi, we're also celebrating Baba Deep Singh's also his Shaheed as well.
Right.
His courage that he gave his head, carried his head, to show us that courage has to be there. And that courage is always to stand for the human rights and the rights of choice of all people. And that's a deep message for today.
The other deep message, I believe, from Guru Nanak Dev Ji was also about interfaith dialogue.
Hanji, very much
the
so.
Time, the era in which he engaged in those interfaith dialogues is something which nobody else could even imagine
Anji.
the kind of teachings. His life is studded with those messages. What are the takeaways from that? What are the takeaways? What are the practical implications of that interfaith dialogue, especially in today's society?
Well, if you look at some of the stories with Guru Nanak Dev Ji and his forgiveness and the way that he had compassion and caring, so many came to him, even those who came against him. He still dealt with those with compassion. And he visited, we know he went to Mecca, he was a Muslim, we went to China, we don't even know what he experienced.
Right.
But he did so to bring a unification to people, to a simple message of Satanam, of the true vibration of the heart and the soul. And he traveled to share that message. In a sense, we are pioneers in interfaith dialogue from Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I started in Toronto, 25, 30 years ago, and I was on the Mayor's Interfaith Committee when we were just beginning interfaith work. Because I knew that was a message of Guru Nanak, that we should work with all people and break down the barriers. And he broke those barriers.
Yeah.
Anji.
Yeah. I do want to know, a lot of our listeners who are listening to this conversation right now, many of them are already aware of the work that you've done over the years. There are many who've recently come to the country and may not be aware of your own journey into Sikhi. I'd like to know more about that. How did you get into Sikhi, and what your journey's been like?
Well, it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
I'm 72 now. I started at 24. I came to the feet of the Guru when I was 24 years old, quite a young man. And there were lots of stories we don't have time today to get into, but on the internet you can find my stories. But I was searching for a pure truth, and I came to my mind at 10 years old that somewhere in this world there was a pure truth, a universal teaching, because I always was a very universal thinking person, even from a young age. Anyways, as circumstances happened, and I met some Singhs, and I came to Gurdwara. I was 24. That was 1976, something like that. And I Matatek at the feet of the Guru. I saw that they came in the Amrit Vele. They said, come in the early morning. We do some exercise. We do some pot. I didn't know what that was. And I came, and then after we did pot, they did the Prakash of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And I said, oh, that's okay. I didn't know what that was even.
Yeah.
But I saw Sangat was there, and people were bowing to the Matatek. And as soon as my forehead touched at the feet of the Guru, Matatek, I knew that I was in the presence of a teaching that was very unique. And then when I started to study the life of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and just his teachings just were so deep, went so deep into my heart, that was it for me. And I made that commitment. It's almost 50 years since I've been at the feet of the Guru.
A lot of us who are listening and this conversation, they're either born into a family that follows the religion, or they're born into a family that is very close to the religion. The religion is around them in the culture. When somebody like yourself, when you have to immerse yourself into this new religion, which you don't have any idea of up until that point, what is that process like, Bhai Sahib Ji?
Well, it's a process, what I understood, because I was raised in my culture, and I can't change who I was raised by in my culture. And becoming a Sikh wasn't to replace. I wasn't looking to find a religion. I'm happy with whatever religion I have. I was looking for a way of life where I could live to the truth and the honesty of my heart, and would guide me. And because I started meditation at the age of 14, so very, very young age, 1965, 66, it was unheard of at that time. But somehow I came to meditation. So I was searching to meditate, and 14 to 24, those 10 years, by the time I started to meditate, then came to the feet of the Guru, those 10 years were a time when I was exploring spirituality. There wasn't much. There was no internet. There was nothing like that. There was no book in the library about Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so I couldn't find that teaching. So I think that Guru just led me. I think it was in my heart. And the immersing into it was to understand that I wasn't replacing a religion. I was finding a new way to live. And that's what these teachings brought to me. So when I started to study and started to work and be with others, and some Granthis that taught me and helped me learn Gurumukhi and understanding the messages. And at that time, there were no English translations, very, very little English translations at that point. So I had to learn the Gurumukhi, then I had to understand how to translate. Now there's so much difference. So, gee, it just that my heart knew that this is where I wanted to be. And when I put on the Dastar, my life changed. It was like settled me down. So I don't know, gee, I have lots of stories.
Yeah. Listening to you, I think it calms down and settles down a lot of people. The kind of indelible impact that you've had. I can tell you this on numerous youngsters, especially when you used to do that television show regularly. I was a regular viewer of that program every weekend morning. By Hari Nam Singh Ji, the next thing that I think, which is very important to discuss, is the practical applications of the teachings of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji and Gurbani into our lives today, especially for the youngsters. Because when you're dealing in the Western world, the kind of message and the expectations that you have are very different than the religious expectations and anticipations that sometimes families impose on the youngsters. So how do we find the delicate balance on that?
Well, gee, a lot of the young people, because I talk to a lot of our young people, and they say, well, we don't want religion forced, but we want spirituality. We want to feel connected to God. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught spirituality. He didn't teach religions. He taught spirituality. And that spirit of the self is common to everyone. And the power of Gurbani, through what Guru Nanak and then Guru Angad Dev Ji, who then created Gurmukhi, because Gurmukhi is a sound vibration, so everything in the Sikh faith as taught through Gurbani is to be able to give balance to the mind. So when we do Simran, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru Simran, when we're doing Kapat and Nitnem, that's a vibration, and in that vibration is called Shabad Guru. Shabad Guru is the science and the technology of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. We have to understand that Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is the science and technology of the advancement of the psyche of a human being. That advances the mind frame of a human being beyond what is just normal. And it works because the sound, the anahat, the sound vibration, the nam, or nod, which is called in the science of sound, everything in Gurbani is sound, rag, right? There's 60 main rags in the Guru Granth Sahib. And rag means a certain rhythm vibration. And coupled with the sound of Gurmukhi itself, the language, is a vibrational sound current that when we recite it, it changes how this brain functions. The whole body functions in matter. They say that Gurbani can change the entire DNA of a person because that's the power of sound. Right. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that this whole world was created by the Nam, by the sound vibration. And Gurmukhi contains, because of all the elements, 108 elements in the universe, every sound vibration exists in Gurmukhi. So the young people, I try to explain to them that this is a practice that gives you a clear, creative mind and gets you out of your doubts and your fears. Because Guru Granth Sahib Ji talks so much about Maya. Maya means that illusion. And everything we see from the television and everything, the clothes, is all an illusion. It's not a truth. Right. But Hanji.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk these days about manifestation, right?
Hanji.
That you can manifest things if you put your mind to it.
Hanji.
But like you said about the scientific elements in Gurbani,
Hanji.
Those are the things which give you that self-control, which help you attain the things or attain those achievements that you've been wanting to get to. One point that you mentioned, and it raises an interesting question in my mind. A lot of people, when we do Path, we just read from the Gutka Sahib or from the Guru Granth Sahib. We don't recite it.
Hanji.
So from what you're saying, that reciting the Path is actually the right way of doing it, because that's when you feel the full impact of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're reading Gurbani about Rasana. Ras means the tongue.
Right.
Hanji, how that tongue, right? Rasana. So when you recite Gurbani out loud, the tongue itself, the movement of the mouth, and again, there's a whole science to it. We don't have time to get in. It's scientific. Then it changes because the human body system is all just points of energies, right? So when we recite it, the value of that is that it does change the whole way your mind translates thought.
Right.
That's the power of Gurbani, of how the mind translates that thought. I tell the kids and I tell everybody, if you just sit 3 minutes of Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru Simran, even 3 minutes every single day. I would think you should do more, but if that's all you can do, you'll see that after 5-6 days, what change happens for you. When we talk about that manifestation, now it's a key word, and people writing books, Guru Nanak Dev Ji and teachings of our gurus are the manifestation beyond manifestation. And if you just sit in the stillness of the self, just for 3 to 5 minutes, I do 2-3 hours per day, every day morning, Amrit Vele. But I'm saying for you, just sit in your calmness and take 3 minutes. Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. Breathe deeply. That's the pran that we talk about. You know, in Guru Nanak Dev Ji doesn't talk about a human being, talks about a prani. Right. And pran means the breath, Bhavan, right? The breath, the air.
Right.
And he says people were prani. We're people that live by the breath, but we don't know how to breathe. Right? So part of what I teach also is how to breathe properly, to breathe from your abdominal muscle, to breathe from your navel point, not just from shallow breathing. So there's so much, and that technology is written in Guru Granth Sahib.
Right.
So the technology of that is mind, body, and spirit. Everything is there. So what we want to do is be able to share it in a way that it becomes encompassing within your own life. Because Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, he said, work hard, be who you are. You have to come to work. You have to be your radio show. You've got to do this. But he said, don't forget the spiritual aspect of your life.
Right.
And that's what we forget. And that's what my message has always been. To do your work, go to school, get an education, go to work, have your careers, etc. Raise a family, do all that, but never forget who created you.
Right.
And the vibration of Vaheguru, let it go into your heart.
Bhai Hari Nam Singh Ji, I can listen to you for the entire day, days on end, but that's all the time we have for today. Really appreciate you taking the time.
And if I could just say, if people want to have questions or comments, there's my Instagram page or Facebook page, Hari Nam Singh Khalsa, and I post every day the Hukamnama from Darbar Sahib, and I translate it to English and explain it. And also Kata there is on that, Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channel. Or visit my website at anantlotus.com, and I have many workshops coming up and things. You can see what programs and where I'll be.
AnandLotus.com.
AnandLotus?
AnandLotus.
AnandLotus.com.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Ji, and may Guru bless you. And on this auspicious day, may we have joy and love in our heart. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru
Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Ji.